That evening, I was sunk into the couch the same way I always was after work. The TV was on, some random show flickering in front of me, but I wasn't really watching it. I was just scrolling through my phone trying to shake off the day. The house felt unusually still. Too still. Around that hour she was normally humming in the kitchen or chatting with me about something trivial. But that night, there was a strange heaviness in the air I couldn't explain. Then I heard her footsteps, slow, purposeful. She entered the living room and stopped in front of me. I didn't look up right away, assuming she wanted to ask about dinner or mention something she'd forgotten. But then she cleared her throat. Her voice came out steady, almost unnervingly composed as she said, "I'm pregnant." For a split second my chest swelled with joy. Those were the words I had prayed for. We had been trying for so long, crying together over one negative test after another, imagining names, picturing our future. Hearing that should have been the best moment of my life. But before I could react, before I could reach for her, she finished the sentence. "I'm pregnant, but it's not your baby." Everything went still. My phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor. I stared at her, waiting for her to crack a smile, to say it was some terrible joke. But her expression stayed perfectly calm. No tears, no guilt, no shaking voice. Just flat. I let out a strained, shaky laugh and said, "That isn't funny." She didn't move. She simply repeated it, slow and deliberate, as if she'd practiced every syllable. "I'm pregnant and the father isn't you." My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. I stood up, trembling, trying to make sense of her words. I demanded answers. How, who, why, but she only looked back at me with that same unsettling calm. I asked how long it had been happening. She shrugged. A simple shrug. That tiny gesture cut deeper than any scream ever could. She said, "Does it matter? What matters is that this is the situation now and you need to accept it." Accept it? She wanted me to accept that the woman I trusted most had been sleeping with someone else. I somehow forced out the question, "Who is the father?" She hesitated just for a heartbeat, then said a name. A name that made every piece of my world collapse. Not a stranger. Not someone random. Someone I knew. Someone she had told me was just a friend. Someone she swore I didn't need to worry about. Suddenly every odd moment, every late night at work, every guarded phone screen slammed into me all at once. Every time I told myself I was imagining things. Every moment I believed her over my instincts. It all made sense now, and it all shattered me. I fell back onto the couch, shaking. "Why?" I whispered. "Why him? Why anyone?" She exhaled softly as if I were the one being dramatic, and said the words that will echo in my mind forever. "Because you're safe. You're stable. But he makes me feel alive. Alive." I had spent years breaking my back to build our future. Every sacrifice I made was for us. Every dream I shaped included her. And she tossed it aside for a man who made her feel alive. I asked her if she even loved me anymore. She didn't answer. She just looked away, and that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. I started pacing, trying to breathe, trying not to explode. I wanted to yell, to break something, to force the world to make sense again. She watched me like she was waiting for a storm to pass. I finally walked into the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and began packing whatever I could grab. She followed, panic creeping into her voice for the first time, asking what I was doing. I snapped. "I'm not raising another man's child. I'm not staying here to pretend this is okay." Her calm finally cracked. She begged me to sit down and talk, but it was already over. I wasn't going to be her backup plan, her safety blanket, or the guy she settled for because he was reliable. That night I walked out with just one suitcase. My hands were shaking, my heart felt crushed, but somewhere deep inside, I knew I was doing the only thing that could save me. The next morning I filed for divorce. For weeks afterward, I drifted through life like a ghost. Eating felt impossible. Sleeping felt pointless. I kept replaying her words over and over, "Accept it," until the pain nearly wore me down. I wondered if I'd failed her somehow, if I could have prevented it. But the truth became clearer every day. Loyalty, honesty, respect. Those are choices. And she chose none of them. Her betrayal wasn't my burden to carry. Now looking back, there's no anger left. Only understanding. She thought I was safe, but walking away was the strongest thing I've ever done. She lives with the consequences of her actions. And me? I'm rebuilding. Slowly. Painfully. But stronger. I've learned that the harshest truths can free you from the prettiest lies. And as much as it tore me apart, I'd rather face the truth than live in a world that was never real at all.